Hello everybody, today I'm watching There Are Not 195 Countries by Mapman. I'm assuming this is going to talk about how some countries don't recognize other countries as being legitimate. It's probably what it's going to be. I'm not sure what else it could be, so let's check it out.
195.
193.
312.
204. How many countries are there?
I've never heard of
That's what we're doing.
312.
We're the men.
And here's the map.
The 193 is about how Palestine
3200
and
BC,
I believe
5223 the end.
the Holy
best travelled
See
people
are
in the
not
world were the Iranians.
countries.
Because every Iranian had visited every country in the world. Iran.
It was the first place to form a sort of government over a sort of territory, making it a sort of country.
But then, visiting every country became doubly difficult when Egypt assembled itself into a state of its own.
And things only got more complicated from there. Countries started popping up everywhere, including
So we're
early
talking
versions
about the
of China,
origin of
Vietnam, India,
countries.
Armenia, North Korea, and finally every other country.
So, what exactly is the grand total now at 5 p.m. in 2024? Because if you're cramming for a pub quiz, or planning an Olympic opening ceremony, or making a website drop-down menu for select your country, or making an episode of Mapmen about exactly how many countries there are, exactly how many countries there are matters.
The most commonly
It also
used
depends what
answer
you
comes from
count
this
as a
important
country.
building on the green screen behind me, the United Nations, where the world's nations gather to discuss problems and find solutions. If you're a member of it, you're a country, and the number of members is... It's a UN decree 193.
It's 193.
Oh, and there's also two
And then there's the
observer
State
states
of
who
Palestine
get to
and the
speak at
Holy
meetings
See
but
on
not
top
vote.
of that.
Long story.
The UN has...
Observer states who get to speak at meetings but not vote. Long story.
The UN has revised to 195.
The perceived officialness of this number creates an opportunity for record collectors with too much time on their hands, such as Graham Hughes, who in 2012 became the first person to visit every single one.
And he did it without taking a single flight.
Bye, Mum. I'll see you in just over 4 years.
But did Graham really finish the job? Can he definitely say he visited
I
every
can't
country in
imagine
the world just
visiting
because
every
he
single
followed
country in the
UN's
world.
list?
That's
Not
just
necessarily. Take
a waste
Taiwan.
of time.
Something China wants to do.
Taiwan?
UN's list.
Not necessarily. Take Taiwan.
Something China wants to do.
Taiwan, which behaves exactly like a country with its own government, flag, military, currency, capital city, and national anthem, is not considered a country by the UN because Taiwan claims that it's actually China.
What?
In 1927, a civil war broke out
So it's going to
between
talk
the
about the
ruling Republic
Chinese
of China
Civil War.
and the Chinese
Which one's the real
Communist
China? China or
Communists
Taiwan?
won, and the old government fled to Taiwan, where they've been holed up ever since, resulting in these
Pretty
two
sure a lot of countries
both
don't
claiming to be
recognize
the real
Taiwan
China.
as a country
For a long
because
time,
they don't want
most
to
of the
piss
world
off
continued
China.
to recognise only the exiled government, but the passage of time
And the passage of economic superpower
saw communist China fully accepted by the UN in 1971. Taiwan is, of course, just one of many examples of de facto countries who lack UN recognition for similar reasons.
Others are Kosovo, Somaliland, Western Sahara, Northern Cyprus, South Ossetia, Transnistria, Abkhazia, Niue, Cook Islands and SMOM, who aren't members but all have at least one member friend.
So, if we add these countries in practice countries to our list of unrecognised countries, UN recognised countries, we get a grand total of...
Some more for the slate. 208.
208.
But that number's super contentious. At least the UN's 195 countries.
So where is the
countries everyone agrees are real
314,
countries,
I
aren't
think they
not?
said?
No, they're not, Mark. The UN members list confusingly includes lots of countries whose countryness is not recognised by some of their fellow members. These include Cyprus,
Not recognised by Turkey,
Armenia,
not recognised by Pakistan,
South Korea,
not recognised by North Korea,
North Korea,
not recognised by South Korea or Japan,
Israel,
not recognised by 28 UN countries,
and China.
not recognised to this day by 12 UN countries, including Bhutan, who uniquely
There
doesn't...
are countries
not
that don't
recognised to
recognize
this day by
China?
12 UN countries, including Bhutan, who uniquely doesn't believe in Taiwan either.
So if we only counted
I mean,
countries on the
Bhutan
UN
makes
members list
sense
who
because
aren't
China
disputed
is
by
techni-
anybody,
Bhutan makes sense because China is technically invading it. Parts of Bhutan are currently occupied by the Chinese, so it makes sense that they don't recognize them.
our total number of countries would stand
Just like
at...
how China is
lose the
claiming
suspect
parts of
states,
other countries'
188.
territories.
Probably countries would stand at... lose the members list who aren't disputed by anybody. Our total number of countries would stand at... lose the suspect states, 188.
It's only 7
Problem
less.
free.
Not problem-free.
This number has the extremely unsatisfying effect of leaving big empty gaps on the world map that apparently belong to no country at all.
So, because we're big fans of colouring in,
Shading. The UN knows best. Bring back the rest. So that's the answer. Thanks for watching. The end. Goodbye.
I mean,
hang on, I've
It's
just
not really.
realised we can't use the UN's list.
Why is that?
Because a country that indisputably exists and is very important to me is missing. England.
Oh dear.
England.
Countries in
Oh.
the UN have to be not only autonomous, but sovereign. And those two words don't
Yeah, how
mean
is
the same thing.
the
Autonomous
United
means
Kingdom
you come up
counted?
with all your own laws and taxes and so on. But sovereign means you have the last word on these laws and taxes, and there is no one higher up who can interfere.
Is
Many
there
autonomous regions around
4
the world
countries,
can't become
Northern
sovereign until they're let
Ireland,
go by their
England,
host
Scotland and
countries.
Wales, or
Such as
just the
Catalonia,
United
Who need
Kingdom?
permission from Spain,
Chechnya.
who need permission from Russia,
and Scotland.
who need permission from Rishi Sunak.
So that's why the UK is a member of the UN, but the 4 countries that make it up, England, Wales,
So
Scotland
it-
and Northern Ireland, are not.
So it
I
counts
know
as
that,
one.
but the only available word for what England is country. If our list is going to include every country in the world, it simply has to be included.
It's not sovereign.
It's got an emoji flag.
Yeah, fair enough. UK countries uncombined, 199.
I mean, to be fair,
But
don't...
now we've opened a massive can of worms. If we decide to count country-like places that don't have their own sovereignty,
Isn't there a lot
we
of
have to
different
include
territories that
ground
aren't a
dependencies,
country which
overseas
have their own
territories,
flag?
constituent countries,
Like,
autonomous regions, specialist municipalities, and free associations join
that's how
the
you
crew.
get the 300 plus.
282.
Or not.
This is getting really hard to count.
Perhaps the best way to settle this and come up with a true number is to find a definition of the word country we can all agree on.
Such as the one they agreed on at the 1933 Montevideo
There will always be
Convention.
someone who does not
What was
agree
that?
with it.
90 years ago, 20 Pan-American countries flew to the capital of the country with the most U's in it to have a meeting to agree what was and wasn't a state.
Many of them had recently become independent, and they were very keen to enshrine the right to self-governance on an important piece of paper.
The 4 simple criteria for statehood they came up with were
A permanent
permanent population, a defined territory, a government, and capacity to enter into relations with other states.
on the 26th
Well, there's
of
definitely a
December,
lot
they
of
realised they'd all missed Christmas. and
territories
decided
like
to
that
land
which are not
property
countries.
before flying home with duty-free gifts to their families. Merry Christmas,
At least
darling.
not
Sorry,
officially.
that's a Toblerone.
And so, since 1933, we've had an official definition of what a country is.
That should make counting straightforward, but the Montevideo definition has a couple of major flaws.
First of all, under the Montevideo Convention, the European Union counts as a country. It has a territory, a
Huh?
population, international relations, and full control of its member states.
No, it
Oh,
doesn't.
God.
It feels like
What
it
a
does.
mess.
And the second problem is,
Under the Monte Convention, this tree, a clearly defined territory in which I am both population and government and have capacity to enter into relations with other governments,
I'm listening.
is a country. I vow to tree my country.
So technically, according to that definition,
my
everything can be a country.
is a tree.
This may sound silly,
My house is my
but
country.
across the world there are countless areas that claim to be countries under this exact same criteria, with zero recognition from any other state.
And they're known as micronations. Our favourite.
There are 86 micronations noteworthy enough to get a Wikipedia article, bringing our total to
Micronations we collate, 368.
368.
That's rather a lot. Do micronations really need to be included on our very serious list?
Let's look at loads of examples.
You could have Uno.
Oh,
just off the coast of Suffolk is this tiny
Sea
disused
land.
naval fort, which is technically an independent country.
When it was abandoned after World War II, it was in international waters, which meant it was technically up for grabs.
In 1967, fisherman Roy Bates turned up, intending to start a pirate radio station.
you're listening to CFM, playing
I'm
you the
pretty
very
sure you
best
can
of
actually
punk,
visit
rock,
this place.
and country.
But quickly decided instead to declare the fort an independent country that he was prince of,
There's a thought.
and named it Sealand.
Sealand still declares itself an independent country today, under Prince Michael Bates, who keeps his dad's dream afloat by selling titles and passports to documentary presenter after documentary presenter after documentary presenter. There are similarly silly stories for the small so-called states of Redonda,
I'm surprised that the British government actually is allowing that to happen.
after documentary presenter.
Although then again, I guess, why would they concern themselves with it? It's no big deal.
There are similarly silly stories for the small so-called
What are all of these European ones?
states of Redonda, Saborga, West Arctica, Ladonian, Utopia, Zakistan, Wagamamona, Space Kingdom of Asgardia, and so on 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 and so on.
For our sensible list of countries to have any meaning, we have to exclude countries that are too small and improbable on the grounds of silliness.
So San Marino and Vatican City are definitely out. No. The real
Yeah, exactly.
reason that micronations
How do
can't be
they
considered on our list is because they all lack
count
the
as
most
countries?
important thing of all when it comes to whether or not you're really a country.
Recognition from other countries is, at the end of the day, really the only thing that makes a country a country. If your countryness is recognised only by yourself, as much as we love learning about you, we can't put you on our list. Sorry.
And so, the time has now come for the big reveal. Based on all the evidence, the official answer to how many countries are there is 200-ish?
Yeah, sort of, yeah, high 100s, low 200s.
I mean, there is no
200.
answer.
Ultimately, because different countries recognise different countries as countries, the only possible answer to the question, how many countries are there, is it depends who you ask. Counting's a pointless
Wow.
task. It depends who you ask. Perhaps it's more important to ask why it matters. Counting countries seems like a very
I mean, the safest answer would be 188. They did say that 188 countries have no disputes. So, and that they're recognized by everyone. So that's really just your safest answer, 188.
20th century pastime
Even though
on
the
an
official one is
increasingly interconnected
195.
planet. The more the world's nations work together, the more we harmonise our trade and laws, and the more we interact on a daily basis with people from all over the world, the more we celebrate diversity within countries, the more the lines between nations and regions get beautifully blurred. Your nation state is just one of many different entities you can claim allegiance to, from your city, to your region, to your continent or your hemisphere. In time, the question of how many countries there are will only become more and more complicated and become less and less relevant.
Can I still wave my flag?
You can do
It's
what you
already pretty irrelevant. That was a good video, although it's... well, there's no answer to the question of how many countries there are. So, it's inconclusive. Personally, I would just go with the 195 that are recognized by the UN because it's the most official answer. Anything else is just... well, it's unofficial. It's a question with no real answer. So let's just say it's 195, leave it at that. So, I guess that's it. Like, subscribe, comment. The link to my Discord server is down in the description below, so check that out if you want. And I will see you in the next video.